Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Josh Obeiter, the Executive Director and owner of Seniors Helping Seniors, a non-medical home care agency that provides companion and caregiver support to seniors by seniors. For the past 20 years, Josh has been intimately involved with volunteering with seniors, primarily providing intergenerational programming at local nursing homes and assisted living communities. Josh, welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me.
It's my pleasure. For our listeners here, Josh has a very extensive and impressive bio that shares everything that he's done throughout his career in our show notes. But Josh, I would love to start off this episode by giving you the opportunity to share more about you and what you do.
Sure. So I oversee and run Seniors Helping Seniors in the greater Boston and Metro West communities, and I've been doing that since 2014. And I got started with Seniors Helping Seniors. We're part of a larger franchise network because I really was always passionate about connecting with seniors and understanding seniors. And I always felt like I was born in the wrong generation. I always loved connecting with them and hearing their stories. So when I heard about Seniors Helping Seniors, it really aligned with my career goals and my past professional experiences. So everything kind of gelled together and allowed me to get Seniors Helping Seniors in the Boston area up and running at the end of 2014.
I love that. And so I'm curious to hear what your past career experience was that led you to realizing that opening up this franchise would be the next best step for you.
Yeah, so in my 20s, I was kind of floundering a bit when it came to what did I want to do with my life. I have a degree in marketing and communications, and I had all this volunteer experience working with seniors, and I worked in fields in conference event planning and project management, a short stint in college admissions. I always knew I really enjoyed working with people, but I never necessarily felt connected to the cause or the organization that I was supporting. And when I heard about Seniors Helping Seniors, the model seemed just tremendously innovative to me because having volunteered with seniors, I realized what a lot of older adults crave is that ability to connect and tell their story and hear from someone who really is genuinely interested in building a long-standing relationship with them. And what I saw was care being very transactional in a lot of circumstances and settings. Nursing homes, assisted livings, care was transactional. Bath, check. Meal, check. But what people were not getting was that social interaction, that social engagement. And so Seniors Helping Seniors really aligned with my value set. And I always wanted to work doing something that I felt really connected to the mission. So again, I was floundering and happened upon Seniors Helping Seniors in a United Airlines magazine article, actually. And that's what led me to be where I am today.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible to now know that you started over 10 years ago. So I feel like that must have probably flown by for you since starting it in 2014.
Yeah, it has flown by in many respects. And to each year has kind of been incremental growth for our organization. So when I started in 2014, it was just myself getting things off the ground, and I was a sole proprietor and really managing all elements of the business. So everything from client acquisition and client assessments to caregiver recruitment, caregiver interviewing, and the matching process and all the administrative elements of conducting a business. And each year, the business has grown primarily through word of mouth, but also through relationships that I've developed and my team has developed out in the community. And each year we have added an additional office staff person, one or more, to support our efforts. And so we have a really great service. It's a service that resonates with a lot of people, especially people who are looking for assistance in the early stages of an Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis. So we serve a particular market, a particular niche in that area. So the business is kind of organically grown, and as has our team.
Incredible. And would you be able to give an overview of the types of services that you do offer? I know you have that specialty and focus in companionship, which, as you mentioned, is so important. But I would love to hear more about how Seniors Helping Seniors supports the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned earlier, we are a non-medical home care agency, and non-medical home care essentially means anything that is in the home, but that does not require any type of medical support or supervision. So we don't have nurses or LPNs working as seniors helping seniors. So the types of services that we provide include companionship, which could be, spending time with someone, hearing somebody's story, playing a game, going on a walk. We help people with grocery shopping. We help people with meal preparation. We often take people to medical appointments. That could be a dental appointment, a doctor's appointment, a therapist appointment. Um, we go on walks. We take people out in the community for outings. Um, and we also help people with medication reminders. So people that are living alone, we can help remind people to take their medication at a given time. We often start small and build a relationship with the client, and as the needs progress, we are able to provide additional assistance with more types of services from time, as time goes on. So we can be there as little as 2 hours a week up to 24/7. But again, the unique differentiation of seniors helping seniors in the non-medical home care sphere is that all of our companions and caregivers are older adults themselves, with the average caregiver being around 70 years old. So they're getting the life experience from seniors helping seniors caregivers versus a specific skill set that somebody has, like a CNA or a home health aide license. So again, it's the right fit for some clients and not for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think that's truly wonderful because to have them with someone who might be close to them in age, I think kind of helps them to bond with someone who gets it, who understands it. And I think as you probably see it, I bet it makes a huge difference.
It really does. And the caregivers themselves get a lot out of this work. A lot of them come to us. Maybe were in the helping field. They were a nurse or a social worker or a physical therapist. And they really enjoyed the helping aspect of their career and are not quite ready to completely let go of being outside of the workforce, and retirement is not everything that they anticipated it being. But also, our work provides a lot of purpose and structure. Retirement for older adults, unless you're, so wealthy that you can travel around the world and, participate in golf every day, retirement can be isolating for seniors. They go from typically working and feeling purposeful and feeling needed to suddenly having, not as a lot going on in their life. And they need to create structure, they need to create schedules. So the work can be incredibly meaningful and valuable and purposeful for our caregivers. And that can be felt from the clients as well. So it's way more than a job for the caregivers that work for us. Some of them also have been family caregivers. They've cared for a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a friend, and they understand firsthand how challenging caregiving is and that everybody needs a break. And one of the things that we provide, which I didn't mention earlier, is that respite care piece. So that respite for a family member who is the primary family caregiver who just needs a break, we do that. And our caregivers, by the nature of their age, by the nature of their experience, they can understand and relate to the families more easily as well, creating just a more seamless experience for the client and also allowing the client to feel a little more dignified in the care that they're receiving.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up the point about providing the respite care because that's a really important note there is that it's great to have that the option of seniors helping seniors for the primary caregivers who do just need a break from the mental, emotional, and physical toll it can take on them. And so it must be such a relief or fill these primary caregivers with such gratitude to know that they have a support system like seniors helping seniors to rely on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and family caregivers often do not get the recognition and kudos that they deserve. Caregiving is tremendously hard work. We often look at caregiving in the United States as caregiving for children. And children certainly are a big part of our population and a big part of what caregiving looks like. But caregiving also more and more these days is caregiving for an older parent, an older aunt or uncle. And caregivers often are overlooked because they see it as kind of part of their responsibility. But they really need to be valued and cherished as part of our society because caregivers can become incredibly isolated themselves. They feel like their sole purpose, their sole function is being a caregiver for somebody, especially when you're caring for someone with a neurodegenerative disease such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, where the care can be draining, both physically and emotionally. So they can be overlooked, because it feels like it's part of their job. But also they lose connection themselves with friends, family. So it's really important that they do seek respite so that they can still maintain their own independence and maintain their own lives, so that they can be a good caregiver and that they're not neglecting their physical, emotional well-being.
Definitely. And what you just shared reminded me of the concept of the sandwich generation of those individuals who are taking care of their children, like you mentioned, but also taking care of their aging parents or parents who may be going through some type of chronic condition. And so again, this is just such a great value to provide to individuals who may find themselves in that situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the sandwich generation too is a big it's come up more and more. It's kind of a hot buzzword term. And I think we will continue to see that as more and more people turn 65 each day. The 65 plus population is the largest growing segment in the US population right now. And there's a lot of considerations for that the demographics in our country are different than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the implications for an aging population, a graying population, is going to look vastly different in terms of how we support those working parents who are working full time, caring for an elder loved one, and also have kids at home. So we need to start thinking about those sandwich generations so that they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yes, absolutely. And you brought up a note about providing companionship, which is a really great benefit from isolation. So that way any senior doesn't feel isolated during this time. But I'm also curious to hear any other types of benefits you've noticed that comes from being able to provide this companionship with seniors as they go through this stage in their life.
Yeah, I mean, it just inevitably you're going to get somebody who is looking at caregiving and looking at the companionship from a different lens. Our companions are not necessarily clinical, but they are incredibly observant. So they are able to pick up and note things that maybe a traditional caregiver may not be able to pick up on. Also, in general, the home care industry tends to be um, kind of ridden with turnover. And that comes at a big disadvantage for the population that they're serving, their clients, because it lacks that continuity of care, that lack of coverage. And that's when things can kind of slip through the cracks. As much as an agency works hard to document and pass information along, that intellectual base, that knowledge that caregiver has is lost when there's turnover. So having an older adult who is not necessarily looking for another job, but who's in it for the long run. We see a tremendous advantage in terms of the client experience. And the client experience can be that trust that they build. They find out more information from the clients because they're there consistently. And also, it just in turn it just creates more comfort all around for the client that they're supporting and their family. And one thing I wanted to mention too about having an older adult workforce is, and also providing that respite care, is the family is finally feel seen. They feel heard by us, by the caregivers, and we have support groups that we offer for the family caregivers, acknowledging the unique situation that they're in. Because again, that comfort, that understanding of what it takes to be a caregiver, often it's like you have to be in the trenches yourself to really quite understand.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, being in this space, it's also vulnerable too. So knowing that the person who is having a caregiver is in the hands of someone who they fully trust and feel so comfortable with and know that they can rely on, I think is really amazing. And so it's great that Seniors Helping Seniors is really moving the needle forward in this work.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things too is we have found that our model is a win-win in so many ways, because the caregivers themselves often come to us either needing supplemental income or they need structure in their life. Either way, they come to us and they find community at Seniors Helping Seniors. And we do a lot to support our caregivers so that they do feel heard and supported and valued. And recently retired, who maybe their job was at the core of their life, or raising their family was a big part of their day. Now their sense of purpose, their sense of connection can be diminished. And so providing that that support, that community to the caregivers is also a huge advantage to anybody who is feeling a little bit removed from society even. So that's just a great advantage. And they bring that level of community and connection to the clients that they're supporting. So again, it feels different. And um, that in turn, I think just allows people to feel a little bit more at ease. And speaking of ease, the clients often are not jumping up and down to get help from a caregiver. You talk to anyone who was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, maybe their car was, they're getting the keys taken away because the driving for them is no longer safe. Most people are not looking for help, because accepting help means that you're no longer independent. And independence is something that we so tremendously value as a society, as individuals. So any type of help that you're bringing in the home is saying chipping away at that person's independence. And our caregivers, because they're older, they don't look like traditional caregivers. We don't wear uniforms, we don't wear name tags. They can kind of camouflage themselves and approach the assistance that they're providing as if they really were a friend or a neighbor or a family member. And oftentimes we're using little white lies or therapeutic fiblets to insert ourselves in someone's life, if they're adamantly against having a traditional caregiver. So because our camouflaged approach, our older caregiver approach, sometimes they're just a few years apart, it allows that person to get comfortable with the idea of getting help, the idea of having somebody else besides a family member in their life. And the benefits from that in and of itself they kind of set the foundation for future care that may be needed down the road.
I love that. And I think that's such a unique part of the model that you mentioned is just the fact that it's coming in as a friend and being able to kind of take away the whole healthcare or I guess care type of aspect of it, but really just being able to provide that friendship and know that the person who is receiving the care and companionship has someone who's there for them and kind of make them feel more at ease about all of the changes or transitions that might be coming up for them.
Absolutely. And because they're older themselves, they can relate to walking slower. forgetting things. They understand it more firsthand. And when they're talking about, the world, when they're reminiscing, that connection is much more natural and much more organic.
Definitely. And I'm curious to hear if you have a certain matching process or anything like that that helps you kind of bring the or pair the caregivers with the seniors that you're working with.
Wow, that's a great question. And that's part of our secret sauce at Seniors Helping Seniors is that we really want to ensure that the match is a good one from the start. So, from a client's getting started with Seniors Helping Seniors, they have a phone intake as well as an in person assessment. It's not a clinical assessment, but it's really an opportunity for us to meet the particular client in their home or wherever they're living to get a sense of their personality, to get a sense of their interests, to get a sense of their background. Where are they coming from? And we do the same thing for our caregivers that come on board. They go through an interview process, they go through a training process, but we also get to know them. We get to know our caregivers, what their background is, what their past profession was. And we have a bio on all of our caregivers, and we have an assessment and bio write up on all of our clients. And our client services team is there doing the matchmaking. And we take into account a lot of things when we do our matchmaking. Obviously, the geographic location in terms of where a caregiver and client live, but also maybe they both have an interest in knitting. Maybe they both were accountants. Maybe they both are from the same faith. So we try and find a mutual connection from the start, some kind of a starting point for their foundation. So it allows them to have something to connect with immediately. And then from there, they're able to build the relationship. But yes, we're not a cookie cutter solution. We don't just have a caregiver who's available visit. We try and put more thought into that, and that allows for a higher success rate at the introduction, which we find is critical for people to accept care initially.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one thing that comes to mind too that I think is really interesting to think about is if you've built any types of relationships or partnerships with other agencies, perhaps hospice agencies, if that time comes or anything like that, as you help these seniors go through this transition in their life.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And you know, the senior care world is all about connections and communities, and I kind of you can think about it like a web of offerings for seniors. And the aging process is incredibly complicated. And again, as people are living longer with more chronic conditions and the type of help that people need can rapidly change or can change over time. It's really important that an agency such as Seniors Helping Seniors is well connected and well versed in the range of services that are available for the clients that we support. So when somebody comes to us with a new diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, they may be living in their own home, they may still be driving, they may still be going about their life in a pretty normal way. And over time, their needs are going to look different. So, having connections with aging life care managers who are social workers or nurses who help guide people through the process of a disease progression and different resources is incredibly important. We connect people with assisted living, memory care assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, independent living communities. We know those resources that are available. Other home care agencies that provide more skilled care that help with toileting and bathing and more complex activities of daily living care, we connect them to, or hospice care, like you mentioned. So there's so many resources that are available for seniors. It's just important that you introduce those resources at the appropriate time. So it's it's kind of like I said, it's this network, it's this web of resources for clients, for people that are aging that are available, but you have to know kind of when it's appropriate to make that connection. So yes, at Seniors Helping Seniors, we're always working alongside our senior care partners.
I love that. And that is a true testament to what you mentioned earlier about it not being a cookie cutter solution at all and really being able to meet your clients where they are and being able to provide them with the best support possible in their best interest.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, having started this franchise of Seniors Helping Seniors over 10 years ago, I know you mentioned you started as just a sole proprietor and since then have grown it up to built a really talented team. I'm curious to hear what might be next for you in the next 10 years, where you might see Seniors Helping Seniors going.
Sure, yeah. So today in 2025, our team is at 15 people. We have an administrative team of 15 people that support our day-to-day operations. That includes our client services team, our on-call team, and our human resources team. And everyone's working in kind of a close-knit way to ensure that our clients are always at the focus of everything that we do. But again, our caregivers are a big part of our success. So we're constantly nurturing the relationships that we have with our caregivers. We have over 260 caregivers that work for us out in the field. They work anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a week to up to maybe 20 or 30, depending upon their specific needs and their, quite frankly, their interests in terms of how much they want to work. The work is certainly there for them. So I right now our focus is on continuing the work that we do with our existing caregivers and our existing clients. We have just launched, as of January of 2025, a brand new program called Day Trippers, which is a social day program out in the community where we have a senior staff member, a senior companion, we call them group enrichment leaders, take 3 participants out in the community for a day. This allows people to get to know other clients that are going through maybe a similar situation. Most of those day trippers participants are early onset or young onset Alzheimer's, and they get to go out with one staff member. But they, instead of it being one-on-one, it's a 1 to 3 ratio, allowing for people to build friendships and community beyond their SHS caregiver. So that's really what I see for seniors helping seniors in the next decade. We are constantly striving to innovate, constantly striving to hear what our clients are looking for and needing, and tweaking our service offerings to do that. And because of our growth, we are moving into a new space later this year, actually in June, which will allow us to hold more events, more trainings, and kind of increase our portfolio of offerings.
That's amazing and it's so incredible to hear. What was it, 260 caregivers that you have?
Yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it's a big operation, and right now I believe we are the largest employer in New England with an older adult workforce. We do not employ anybody under 50, and like I mentioned, our average caregiver is 70 years old. So we are the exact opposite of age discrimination. We are really harnessing that life experience and focusing that to develop our workforce of caregivers and companions.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you just brought up the point about being the exact opposite of age discrimination, because that was an exact thought that came to my mind where I was like, wow, what an incredible opportunity for people who might be older in their lives to have their next employment opportunity that they unfortunately might not get at other places. And I think that's really wonderful that you're able to provide them with a fair and equitable opportunity in that sense.
Absolutely, it's a fair and equitable opportunity. And often when they start, they often don't come to us with hands-on caregiving experience. Maybe it's that family caregiving experience, but they feel valued, they feel purposeful, and they have that structure in their life. And many of the people that come to us kind of suddenly stopped working due to a layoff and not being able to get back into the workforce in their prior field. So we are providing them with meaningful and purposeful work that allows them to kind of keep that engine going, which is so helpful for our mind and our body.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening to this episode who is thinking of entering into the home care or senior industry or senior space, what advice would you have for them for pursuing a career in this area?
Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost, people need to come into this field with a passion for the work. Passion supersedes everything. I hire people that come to seniors helping seniors in our office from other fields. but their skills are transferable, but they have a passion to help. They have that empathy. They understand that seniors in general are overlooked. And as I said earlier, I feel like I was born in a different generation. A lot of people in their 20s and 30s don't want to think about aging, or they think it will never happen to them. And so you have to come to this industry with a real understanding of what it's like to go through the aging process. And I think that firsthand experience being a family caregiver or even watching a loved one go through the system, so to speak, gives you that firsthand experience, that firsthand knowledge that allows you to really kind of, yes, I'm in this. I'm passionate about this work. I understand that aging is hard and complex and messy, and everything else kind of falls into place after that. But you really can come to this field from so many different professional lenses. You can come to it from a legal lens, from elders from to elder law estate planning. You can come to it from a medical lens. We mean way more geriatricians. You can come at it from a therapy lens, social workers, occupational therapists, speech language pathologists. So it's really about using your experience, using your background, and applying it to working with older adults. But as I said, the passion needs to be there because people can easily pick up on, people that enter this field as just another job because there needs to be more there.
So true. I love the point that you mentioned about passion. And it makes me think too, for any type of caregiver, as we shared earlier, it can really be a lot mentally, physically, and emotionally, which can make it challenging to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself too. And so I'm curious to hear from your experience, both as a caregiver and what you do as within Seniors Helping Seniors, is what you recommend for any caregiver to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, to go along with the whole concept of you can't pour from an empty cup.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup. And it's really important, I think, especially in the beginning stages, to plan and to develop a plan and talk about what you actually need. Because oftentimes people want to deal with things on their own. Health issues can to be very private, and you think, oh, I can do it. I was an executive in my career. I can be a caregiver now for my spouse as they need more assistance. But really, it's important to not self-isolate, but to be out there in community. There's so many resources, especially here in Massachusetts, to stay connected. So depending upon what type of caregiver you are, you can join a specific caregiver support group. There's memory cafes for people that are caring for loved ones living with an Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis. You can talk to your faith community, you can talk to your friends. You just want to make sure that you're talking about it because people don't know that you need help or that you might be struggling if you keep it all to yourself. So it's just really, really important to build that community of professionals, family, friends, because you're going to need it on this journey of caregiving. So, start with your doctor, start with the resources that your doctor's office may or may not have, and then build that web of resources from there.
So true. Thank you for sharing that. I think that was a really great piece of advice there. And one fun question that I love to ask their guests is what their favorite local businesses are to support. So I'm curious to hear what yours might be, Josh.
Yeah, so I live in Boston, specifically in Roslindale, West Roxbury area, and there's a couple places that I just don't know what I could live without. One of them is my gym. It's a local gym called Rozzy Fitness, and I am not somebody who loves to exercise by any means, but I know it's important to age well and to keep myself healthy. And it's just a wonderful community of people that come together for group exercise classes. And I just love that. It's a small family-owned gym. And then on the other end of it, is I love this bakery called Weish. I work out so that I can eat. And Weish in Roslindale is a delicious bakery. They're known specifically for their Weish tarts, their little pop tarts. They come in all fun different flavors, and they also have cake in a jar, kind of unique offerings. So highly recommend if you're looking to stay active, Rozzy Fitness. But if you're looking to indulge, both are in Roslindale.
Love it. Josh, this has been a really great episode, and I've really enjoyed having you on the show. And now I'd love to give you the opportunity to share with our listeners where they can find you online in case you'd like to reach out and learn more about seniors helping seniors.
Great. Well, thanks again, Ashley, for having me on your podcast. If people are interested in learning more about seniors helping seniors, especially if you're in the Boston and Metro West area, you can visit us online at shsboston.com. Or you can just Google Seniors Helping Seniors and you will find us. You can also give us a call. We're open 9 to 5 every day, but we always have someone available to chat should you need to reach us after hours. And we can be reached at 617-877-3163. So we're happy to chat with you about caregiving resources, job opportunities, or just point you in the right direction if we're not the right resource for you.
Perfect. And I will link to those places and include that information in the show notes so our listeners can click through and easily connect with you from there. But thank you so much again for coming on today's show.
Absolutely. Thanks again.